To test our register post route, you need to install Postman on your machine. So go to postman.com and download the installation file, follow the instructions, and when that is done, open up your Postman and then create a new tab. Right here, make sure that you choose post, not get, and then type in localhost 5000 API register. Here at the headers, the key should be content type, and the value should be application/JSON. Now the headers are set. Go to the body, choose raw, here is our register file. If you remember, it requires name, email, and password. Down here, the first one should be name. Let's say Tom. Next, email, tom@mail.com. And the last one is password. That should be more than 5 characters. So tom123. Next, press send. That's because our server is still down. So right here, open up your terminal and make sure that you're in the root directory. Type npm start. Now port 5000 is open. Go back to your Postman, press send again. So now it says server error. Go to your Firebase and then click Cloud File Store. Right now, our Firebase is not initiated, so you need to create a database here. Press the button and start it in the production mode. Click Next. And you need to choose your location. Try to choose the one closest to you. So I'm gonna choose Asia East 2 and then enable. Now our file store is set up. Go back to Postman and try that again. Press send. It returns a token. But before we do anything with this token, let's go back to our Firebase. Click File Store again to refresh. Down here, you see that the collection named users is created along with the collection and the information of the user. Nice. When we first created our database, this collection didn't even exist yet. And then we try to store this user information inside the user's collection. So Firebase will create a collection and a document for you if it don't find that collection or that document in the database. Now back to our token. If you copy your token and then go to jwt.io, down here, remove the default value and paste everything that you have copied in here. Scroll down. This is what is hidden inside this token. ID of this user and the name of this user. Remember when we created our payload, we stored the user's ID and name here. And then we pass that to JWT function and then store that payload in this token. Later on, we can use this long string of token in other places of our application. Now, let's create our login post route. So inside the API folder, click New File, and then name it login.js. Inside this file, let's import express require express so that we can use the router express.router, and then we are going to import bcrypt because we need to decrypt our user's password. So require from bcrypt.js and then const jwt require JSON web token const config because we need that key and value. Okay, require from config. Also check and validation result. Require express validator. Import our database, Firebase admin, and our admin.file store. Nice. So type router.post. Again, we use only single slash here, kind of the same as this one. Now let's go back to server.js. Here we created only one route, which is API register. So whenever users type in localhost 5000 API register, this will redirect them to this file register.js. So this is the default route for this particular JS file. Now if we were to create another API route, let's say API login, and then require route API login. Okay, so this one will point to this file. Okay, so this is why we can use a single slash here, because this single slash represents this location. Okay, while here in the register file, this single slash represents this location, so they're not the same. All right, so I'm gonna save that, go back to login, and now here we're gonna put an empty array because we need to check if our users type in correct information. And after the array, we're gonna request response and arrow function. Okay, so in here we will check email. We're gonna say email is not in the correct format. Okay, and then we will use this email function to check that, and then check the password. If password doesn't exist, we will say that password is required. Okay, so we're gonna use the exists function. Now here const errors validation result and put request here. If not errors, that is empty. That means if this one isn't empty, okay, it has some errors, we're gonna return response.status 400.json. we're gonna return errors, a list of errors to our user. Now here we're gonna structure, email, and password from request.body, and then we're gonna try the try catch block. Here const user ref db.collection, the user's collection, and then let user, because we're using await here, we need to put async here. Await user ref dot where we're gonna find this email in our database. So email dot get, and then if email, if user dot empty, then that means we don't find this email in our database. We're gonna tell the user status 400 dot JSON errors, email not found. Okay, and then if we could locate that email in our database, we're gonna create another variable called found, and then user.forEach. We're gonna loop through each document that is returned from this function, the where function, because this function will return an array of documents. Okay, so we need to loop through each one to take out our data. So we're gonna assign a value to found, so doc.data. So here in our database, that where function will return a list of all documents with the matching value. So, and here we're gonna loop through each document and then assign a value, okay, to found. And because we know that there is only one email, okay, this will accept only one data. Next, const matched, okay, await bcrypt dot, we're gonna use the compare function from bcrypt to compare the password that the user gives and the password found in our database. Okay, first we check if there is an email in our database. If there is, we're gonna check if the password match, and then if it's not matched, okay, we're gonna return res.status 400 to the user, telling them that invalid password. Okay, and then if the passwords match, we will continue to the next slide, creating a payload. In here we will store ID, okay, and we're gonna take ID from our database, okay, and assign it to this ID, and then we want the user's name so that we can display their name on our front page, something like that. Save. And the last step is use JWT to sign our token, and then we're gonna pass along the payload, and then config .get. If you remember, the name of the key is JWT pass. Put it here, and then expires in 40,000 error token error function. So if there is any error, we're gonna throw an error, or else we're gonna return our token back to the user so that we can use this ID and name elsewhere on our website. So down here, if there is any error, we're gonna display file status and then send a server error. And very important part, don't forget to export our router below. So module.export, and we want to export router. Nice. Now let's try this out. In my terminal, I need to start up my server first. So npm start. Okay, listening on port 5000. And right now we have only one user, Tom. Open up your Postman. We're gonna try a not existing account first to see if we throw any error. So let's change this from register to login. And the login route will take only two fields, email and password. So we don't need a name. Let's say change from Tom to Tommy. Okay, it won't find in our database. We will get an error. So let's hit send. Error, email not found. Go back here, and you can see that this block of code got executed. And when it returns this line of code, the remaining code will never get executed. It just simply breaks out from here. Let's see if this one works also. So here I'm gonna put a valid email address, but I'm gonna put another number here to make it invalid, the password. And then I'm gonna hit send. Invalid password. Nice. Now this time we're gonna make everything correct and then press send, and see we get our token. Now copy our token and let's check it in jwt.io. I'm gonna remove this and then put it here. You see ID and name. Nice. You can pass anything to your token. Let's say go back to our code. I want to pass a special message saying that I want to code more. Okay, and save. Then we need to restart our server. Go back, Control C, and then npm start again. Back to your Postman and try login a second time. The token will change, and then copy this token. Go to your browser, jwt.io, remove this, and paste the new one in. You see, message, I want to code more. Let's make use of our token. So go back to server.js. We will make another API route. I'm gonna call this route private, but you can call it whatever you want. In order to get access to this route, our user must log in first, else they will be denied the access. So I'm gonna point it to route API and then private. Okay, we need to create this file also. Right here inside the API folder, new file, private.js. I'm going to import Express so that we can use router. Okay, const router express dot router. Then we need admin from Firebase admin, and then db admin dot file store. router.get, and this will be the default name of our private route, and async, because we will call our database break and rest arrow function, and I'm gonna try catch here. Const user ref db.collection users, const user await user ref where id equals request dot user dot id dot get. Okay, so right now our request doesn't have anything here. We're gonna need what is called a middleware. Okay, we need to verify our token first to check if our user is logged in. If that is true, then we can get access to this data. So let's create our middleware first. In the root directory, create a new folder and call it middleware. And inside this folder, I'm gonna make a new file called middleware.js. Alright. Here we're gonna need JWT require JSON web token config require config, and then type module export this out so that we can use this middleware function elsewhere. So we need request, we need response, and we need next. So we're gonna take token from request.header. You can name this anything you want, but the standard would be like XOR token. And if token is not found, then return res.status 401.json with the errors message token not found. If we can locate the header with this name, then we can extract the value out by using JWT verify function. We're gonna verify this token from the header, okay, and then we're gonna check that with our config.get. This is why we imported config here. We need this key to get access to this password. So put it here. And then we're gonna store our user. And then we're gonna attach this user value to the request, okay? And then next to the next step. If there is any error, we're gonna type status 401.json saying that token not valid. Save. Now go back to our private route. We need to import our middleware. Go back, middleware, and then we can use this down here. So what happens here? First, our user will try to get access to this route, but before they can go any further, they must go through our middleware here. Inside the middleware file, we will check if there is a token in the header, okay? To make it easier for you to see the picture, let's see our postman here. See, our user tries to get an access to this route, but first it will check if the headers, okay, has the key name X auth token with any value here. So this value will be like our token, okay? Our user got this token from registering or logging in. If you remember, we put it here. So this function will check if there is a token. If there is no token, it will not allow our user to move forward. Then, if there is a token, we need to use JWT function to verify this token to see if the key here matches. All right. If the token is verified, we will pass along the user object to the request here, okay, attached to it, so that we can use the ID and name anywhere. And then we're gonna execute next, which means we will allow our user to go through the next step. Here we check if this ID, which we got from our middleware, remember, from this user, and then we're gonna check if that ID does exist anywhere in any document in the user's collection. And then we're gonna create another variable called result user.for each. We're gonna loop through each document in the user's collection, and then we're gonna store this data inside here. Next, res.json, and then we're gonna pass any result back to the user. If there is any error, we're gonna send a 500 status response to the user saying server error. Save. Okay, now let's test this route out. On your terminal, npm start. Yeah, so we forgot to export this router out. So type down here module.export export this router and save. Okay. Now go back and npm start again. Everything should work. Nice. Listening on port 5000. Here in our Postman, create a new tab, choose get, and then type in your URI. So mine is API/private. In the headers, you need to specify the key here, x-auth.token, and then put your token in the value field. So right here, my login route, I have logged in and got this token. So I can just copy this token and then paste it here. That's all you need. But first, let's try putting something that is not valid like this and send. Token not valid. See? Now remove this and put the valid one in and send again. Bravo. So we have all the information from the token displayed here. So we got our user's name, ID, email, and even password. Because this line here returns everything from this document, including the email. So to exclude the password from the response, we can do something like curly braces. We're gonna pass along the name. Name is from this result.name. Also, we're gonna pass along email, result.email, and the last one is ID, result.id, but we're not passing along the user's password. Save. All right. So that should exclude the password from the response. Terminate the server and restart. Go back to our Postman. The token is still valid, so I'm gonna keep it as it is, and then press send again. And this time you see that we have only name, email, and ID, and the password is gone. So you can use the name, email, ID anywhere in your application, and you can get access to that data by using reg.user like this. So that just wrapped up our Node.js backend tutorial. I hope this may be useful to you somehow. And when you have your routes all set up and everything else, then you can hook this to your front end. I can show you real quick how to do it. So you can open up your terminal. And if you want to use React as your front end, make sure that you're in the root directory, and then you can type create React app, and we're gonna name this folder client. Press enter. This will create a client folder inside here. Let's check the client folder out. So expand it in the source folder. See, you can see the index.js, app.js, and if you go to public, and you can see the index.html here. So this is where you can start coding for your front end. All right, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.